Cheerio, my name is Rainer. Welcome to the channel. It's a Sunday night, Sunday the 27th of March in 2022, and here I am with another Sunday sum up. I finished one book. Which one it was, I tell you after the intro. It is now some 20 minutes since the man left, but I have remained here on this bench to await the event that has just taken place, namely the switching on of the pier lights. As I say, the happiness with which the pleasant seekers gathering on this pier greeted this small event would tend to vouch for the correctness of my companion's words. For a great many people, the evening is the most enjoyable part of the day. Perhaps then there's something to his advice that I should seize looking back so much, that I should adopt a more positive outlook and try to make the best of what remains of my day. After all, what can we ever gain in forever looking back and blaming ourselves if our lives have not turned out quite as we might have wished? The hard reality is surely that for the likes of you and me, there is little choice other than to leave our fate ultimately in the hands of those great gentlemen at the hub of this world who employ our services. The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro, that is the book that I finished yesterday. And as you might know, this book by the British author has been the ground stone for the Nobel Prize of Literature. And it has also been the book that won the Booker Prize in 1989. Probably was called Man Booker at the time. The Remains of the Day, which is a book about a British butler named Stevens, who has lived his life, more or less his professional life, being a butler at a very beautiful estate in the UK. And he has worked for his lord for many, many decades. And then the premises have been bought by an American millionaire. His name is Faraday. And Mr. Faraday tells Stevens to take Faraday's car and take some days off and drive towards wherever he wants. And he goes for a couple of days, he goes on a trip west to Cornwall in England. Cornwall is a region that I really want to see someday, and traveling to Cornwall, he makes some breaks at this village, and he has some nice views of the beautiful landscape of southwestern England, and he is sort of reflecting about his life as a butler. He's an aging butler now. He has worked ages now at Darlington Hall, and he has had a crush. He had been in love. He loved, actually, a woman who was also working there in the house, but she has left the house and he has the opportunity to see her again. He wants to re-recruit her to Darlington Hall, to Mr. Faraday. So that's one of the reasons why he travels west, is to meet this woman, Miss Kenton, I think is her name. And well, this is a book that is so incredibly beautifully written by Mr. Kazuo Ishiguro. It's written in a very elegant English, British English. You can almost hear the Oxford pronunciation of English in it, the best of Englishes. And I haven't seen the movie yet with Anthony Hopkins. I will do that. I will see the movie the next week. So this Mr. Stevens, he is a guy who reminisces things that have happened at Darlington Hall, things that have happened with his father, who also worked at Darlington Hall for a period of time. And it is sort of living alive in the second row, in the third row, not in the front line, where you can enjoy everything. That is being a servant to someone else, always not in first class, but in second or third class, and doing everything to please the first class people, the ones who employ you, the people who are sitting at the hub of the world. But this book is also a book about Britain, about the UK, and that's why I'm so glad actually to have read this now, because very soon I'm going to read Monica Ali. And I read Monica Ali's novel In the Kitchen, and I also made a review. I think I made a review about it on my channel. And what I experienced in the Kitchen by Monica Ali to be in a modern version of The Remains of the Day maybe is this discussion of Britain and of England and what happens with the empire and how everything has developed, how the decline and fall of the British Empire, especially the fall, is happening in the second half of the 20th century. So this is also a topic of The Remains of the Day. Butler is a profession that has been more popular before than it is now. I'm sure there are still a lot of butlers for a lot of oligarchs and other capitalist people, but I guess their number has been reduced quite drastically over the last 70 years since Stevens worked at Donington Hall. And this book is also about our lives in general, not only in the UK, not only in England, but also about the chances that we always have, the paths that we're always confronted with, the decisions that we have to make for ourselves. Should I follow this route or should I follow this route? It happens in certain parts of your life. You have been confronted with this question. Should I do this or should I do that? Should I move to Finland or should I move to Ecuador? Should I learn Spanish or should I learn Russian? Should I marry Sally or should I go for Jane? And this is the decision that we make, and we leave a lot of things on the way, and often we wonder 10 years later or even 15 or 20 years later, what would have happened if Ingrid and I would have been an item at that time? Or what would have happened if I wouldn't have traveled to Norway in 1980 but to Kenya? How would my life have been? I don't know. And that's always the remains of the day. You have the remains of the day, what remains of the day, and the most beautiful part of the day is the evening, Stephen says. And he's sitting there on that pier and he's watching the people, he's looking at the remains of the day, and he thinks about all the decisions. And this is also a book about the decisions. It's a beautiful book. It's a beautiful novel, 1989, which has made Kazuo Ishiguro to one of the best authors in the English language, one of the greatest living authors in the world, I would say. Last year, I read his amazing novel, Clara and the Sun, about artificial intelligence, and it was really, really beautiful. I want to read more. I will read more by Kazuo Ishiguro. That's it. My TBR was published on Friday, so I will start reading now Dawnie Walton's book, The Revival of Opal and Neff, the final revival of Opal and Neff. That will be the next book that I'm really getting into. Hopefully a lot next week. Also Monica Ali's Love Marriage, which is also again a novel about Britain, about the state of the Crown, the state of the United Kingdom, but also the state of people living in that country. Yesterday I've been to the demonstration. Maybe you have seen my video from the demonstration against the war in Ukraine here in Stockholm at Sergels Story. It was very windy. I wanted to talk to people. I wanted to present some voices. And there were some voices speaking at the demonstration that were very, very touching. There was a young woman together with her brother. Her brother has lived already in Sweden for a couple of years, and now his sister has joined him here in Sweden. She has left the city of Mariupol on March 15, the city that is so destroyed in the south of Ukraine. And she gave witness, she told her story about how the houses started to burn, every house around her, even her house started to burn, and how she had to leave the house with all the pictures, with all the memory of her late mother burning to ashes, but only grabbing the few things that she needed, her documents, and then move away and try to leave Ukraine as soon as possible. So this is a horrible war, and we have to help Ukraine. And I will attend those demonstrations whenever possible, also in the future. Today I wanted to go to see 2 soccer matches here in Stockholm. I had to say no because I had a sore throat, and I actually made a self-test for COVID-19, which turned out to be positive, which is probably I have COVID-19, but I'm not being able to get a PCR test here in Sweden because we have stopped, or they have stopped, testing people since February 9. They only test people if they are admitted to hospital. if they're really, really sick. And I hope that I can make it without getting to the hospital, of course, but then I will never know if I had COVID or not. But it seems that I have it. So I will have to change my next week. I have to plan different things. I wanted to go to Malmö on a business trip for 2 nights. I was very much looking forward to that. I can't do this now, probably because the symptoms will not disappear that fast. I have a stuffy nose as well. And this is everything right now, and I hope that it doesn't get worse. So please bear with me. So Malmö is not going to happen next week, probably very likely. And it means that the next travel vlog that I wanted to do on the site will have to wait for a couple of days. I hope that you are well wherever you are. Be careful with COVID-19. It's still around. In Sweden, we don't take it seriously anymore, which is, in my eyes, a mistake. But it's almost impossible to not get infected here, where no one is wearing a mask, where no one is taking the distance from other people, and where we have abandoned almost everything that is necessary to avoid getting infected. And once you have to work, and I have to work also with people, the risk is pretty imminent. So that was everything I had to say for today. It's Sunday. It's a Sunday sum up, and I hope I see you soon on this channel, right? And I say bye-bye.